very sad day today for Canadian sports media. And I'm going to pass this to Blake because for what better part of a year, you and Darren Dutchyshen hosted Sports Center on TSN.
Yeah.
Dead today at age 57, far, far too young.
Hadn't heard a health update about him in a long time. And I independently, within the last 3 weeks, had thought, geez, I hadn't seen him on TV. And he made a triumphant return after 1 or 2 bouts with cancer, I want to say. And
it was the first bout with cancer. He came back and worked until December. And that was when last he was on television.
Yeah. So I was a little bit worried, and then we get the news today, and it's hit me a little bit more than I had anticipated, to be honest. The years that I spent working at Sports Center around Dutchy were sort of the formative years of my career that sort of set me up for everything else that came afterwards. And so many memories of the levity in the room. He was the mayor of the newsroom, set the pulse, the vibe, the most inclusive guy, because a guy with that bravado, sometimes you could see that being detrimental, that he saw himself as the legend that he was. He didn't. He would go and approach every single part-time employee that he didn't recognize. He'd make sure he go and introduced himself. And he'd assume that person didn't know who he was and say, "Hi, I'm Darren." And immediately would have that person laughing. And, we would have the biggest game to cover, whatever it was. I know people probably snickering and saying, probably Toronto game. Probably was. And we would still get so distracted and would be laughing our asses off. I remember the two of us and Adnan Verk was producing updates for us, and Adnan would be doing his song and dance and doing impressions. And honestly, just the best guy. We had a lot of heart-to-heart conversations too. I remember him telling us about his son, 10-year-old son, giving him a putter that he had saved up his own money, and how he tried to battle tears and appear like the strong dad in front of his kid. And he cried a lot. He was an emotive guy. He may have had biceps the size of my waist, but he
shredded.
He had all the feels. He was just a big teddy bear. And the newsroom got a lot quieter because I've been, up until a couple of years ago, I was still doing some significant stints on Sports Center. And it was a lot quieter in newsroom. Like it was astoundingly quieter, not a little bit quieter. It was so quiet.
Yeah.
And that place needs to be allowed to be at its best. And his laugh, his tone was just perfect for getting the job done. And he will be missed. Thoughts going out to friends and family, obviously back east, and to Jennifer Hedger, who had him for 2 decades. After I left, Duffy gave the reins to me. I came back home after a year there, or I was there for 4 years, but after a year with Dutchy, the reins were given to Jennifer Hedger, and pretty much 2 decades. Yeah. Hedger and people here might not have the connection because they did the prime time in the East, the 10 p.m. Eastern show. So you may not have been watching 7 p.m. Sports Center as much, but you missed a good one. Roof Daddy, back-to-back jacks.
The catchphrases.
So good.
Had his own style. So you're telling me the guy from Porcupine Plains, Saskatchewan, population 855, didn't have airs about him, huh?
Correct. Yeah, which should come as no surprise. He was, he was prairie through and through, despite 30 years in Ontario.
Yeah. Larger than life personality. He's one of those guys that he walked into the room and he commanded the room, but in a positive way.
Yes.
Like I remember when I started interning in 2015, just like you alluded to, Blake, didn't matter who I was, scared, very young, board op at TSN 1050. He made me feel welcome, like I was, had been there for years. So
can we get that scared board op back?
So we have Dutchy to blame for all that. I didn't know him that well, but had certainly met him and been with him at particularly Grey Cups. What I'll remember is the cheer, the good nature, the joy, the volume. not
Oh,
a
yeah.
quiet guy. In fact, for many years did Grey Cup radio with Julio Caravata in a convention center or in a hotel lobby or whatever it was, but not far away from the TSN television set. And when they were on the air, you heard Dutchy. And when they were off the air, you heard Dutchy even more.
Sure you did.
Because there were people coming up to talk to him and say hello. And he was more than happy to hold court and just brought a joy and passion to the job that I don't think any of us who watched his work for all these years will forget.
Yeah.
May he rest easy, and our condolences to everybody at TSN and in the TSN family and the Dutchyshen family first and foremost.
He would want everybody to whoop it up, though. He really would. That's his energy, and so enjoy sports going forward.
Hey, let me ask you, because is it competitive between the Sports Center anchors to sort of write the best quip on that night's highlights? Because I imagine he would have been formidable.
Well, he was in the quip era. So Sports Center is different. Like, people have to understand, like, we were sort of following the coattails of the Sports Center with an ER at its very best.
Yeah,
where the Dan Patricks and
the
Kenny
Oberman
Maines,
Patrick,
Obermans,
the Oberman and Patrick style,
Rich Eisen, and so we were emulating that to some degree with the Sports Center RE, and so back then, early on, yes. Now it's far more. I'm not going to say it's gotten more bland. It's just changed. It's not the be all and end all. That was sports. That was where you got your sports back then.
It was different.
Now you consume it differently. So show's taking on a different tone.
Yeah, because back-to-back Jacks, I will remember to my last day.
Oh yeah, you just waited for it.
It was almost at the point where if you happen to notice that two consecutive guys hit home runs in a baseball game that night, you tuned into Sports Center to hear Dutchy say it because you knew it was making the highlight pack.
I hope I can dig it up here. Somebody had, yes, this is Rob Del Mundo. Works in Toronto. My favorite Darren Dutchyshen line of all time. After Daniel Sedin and his wife had a baby, quote, "I don't want to start any rumors, but he looks an awful lot like Henrik." And that is Dutchy.
Oh, he was so good. So good.